Corrections to appointing Brian as ex officio, so that in the event that Patty has to leave, we have a quorum to vote. Any opposition?
No opposition. All good here.
All right, Brian, you're in. Okay, public comment. Communications.
One quick thing, Jeff, should we take the roll
We could take the roll if you'd like.
in case someone's online? Michelle Drobnik, are you remote online? *6 if you are. Jeff Hallstrand?
Here.
Jason Hastings, are you online? Michelle, is that you? Online? Okay, I'll go back to her.
I'm here.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sorry, put it on mute.
Not a problem. Jason Hastings, are you present online?
Nothing for Miller.
Jason Hastings? Jordan Spacek?
Here.
Patricia Steven? Here. Thank you.
Okay. Now we will move on to public comment communications. Does anybody have anything? Joe? Josh? So I received a comment from our treasurer department over across the hall here, and they said that they would like to pass on that a lot of very positive comments come in on the little brown slips for the people paying their fees out at the campgrounds, saying how nice and neat and well maintained and very, very nice campgrounds. And they said it's not just Solberg, it's all over. So kudos to our department for having very nice, respectable campgrounds. So Joe, you can pass that on to your team then. All right, nothing else. Minutes from our last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from what's that, August 5th meeting?
August 5th, yeah.
I'll second.
Second from Michelle. Any comments or corrections? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next meeting will be November 4th. I would assume we'll need one for fall bid stuff, so we'll tentatively plan on that. Okay, Josh, buildings and grounds project updates.
Good morning. I don't have a ton today, so I'll be kind of quick here. Actually, reason for that being, can I go ahead and go right
You
to
go right ahead.
department update,
Cover up all three.
So, okay, all right. Department update, one of my main maintenance guys has been out for 8+ weeks on medical leave, so he's actually just getting back now. And along with that, we've had custodians that have been on vacation and whatnot, so we've been covering down on them. So I haven't, since the concrete park project, we haven't gotten into any big projects, so just a lot of miscellaneous repairs and but so that's the reason for that. So back to project updates. We got the pump at the courthouse that's been replaced. We've talked about that for a few months now. We had another pump that went out also, and that was less extensive, and that's been replaced also. So the HVAC system right now is all up and good, looking good for the winter. Just got some new signage hung around the building. Nick and Laura have been a big part of getting that ordered, and I don't know if anyone's noticed for the parking lots, but that's been hung, and trying to get some stuff wrapped up outside. Picnic tables have been repaired, and that's kind of what we've been working on here the last few weeks. Coming up here, projects that we got coming up is PMs in October. We have the county garage sale this next week, Thursday and Friday, so we're getting ready for that. And pretty soon we'll be changing over to winter.
Couple things with the pumps. The first pump Josh mentioned was it lightning strike or power outage? So
Correct.
That one was covered by insurance, all but the deductible. So that was covered. We did get that confirmed. Do you want to talk about the pipe project that you're working on over the evidence
For the sheriff's department. We've talked about that before a little bit. There's some leaking pipes in the evidence room at the sheriff's department, and we've been keeping an eye on that. I've had a handful of patch jobs, I guess you could say, in there, until we can get those pipes replaced. And this last week we had another pinhole leak. So I'm actually looking at, in talks with the sheriff, and we're looking at the week of the 21st, is that 20th, 21st? Like I said, we got the garage sale next week, and so I've kind of started to order parts, and we're looking at that week after for the replacement of that. So I think we have a plan, but needs to happen.
I thought we did that already.
We haven't yet.
Summer, yeah.
We've talked about it several times.
Okay.
The other thing that Josh and I are working on, Josh sent me a draft of the RFP for the switch project. I haven't gotten a chance to go through it, but we did talk a little bit more about making sure we have some specifics so that someone can't bid really low because, well, you didn't put it needs a minimum of 200 kilowatts or whatever it might be, and we'll do a 180 and everybody else has been 200 or 300 because that's what you need. So Josh and I are working through that now. Once we do come up with an RFP, we'll request through this committee to recommend a budget to go to executive for capital improvement funding. So it's not in the budget. We decided that it would be better off using that capital improvement funds to get that project done when it does come to time to get it done.
Have we heard any update on the sidewalk situation, or that's not till next year?
Well, it's done.
Sidewalks are done here.
But we won't
On
get billed
13.
for it until next year? Is that
No,
the way it was gonna go?
Originally, we thought we were going to be able to hold off the bill till next year. We originally estimated about $20,000, 15 to 20. I think it came 10 or 11. I can't remember what I sent you, but it's significantly less than what we thought. Carrie and I are just going to review it and see if it's capital improvement, if it's something that Josh's budget will just absorb this year. That'll be a finance committee. We'll look at that expense. We talked to the city. They believe they'll be able to complete the project and put it on or bill it this year, but we'll yet to see what that is.
Well, they had a perfect fall for it, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Josh?
A few weeks.
Anything? Nothing?
Well, where you said signs, bro.
I noticed the signs in the building. Those are all new too.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, well, you can stay or go.
All
It's your
right.
choice.
He's like,
I'm back to work. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to forestry and parks. Did you have anything you wanted to open with, Joe, or no communication, nothing? All right, so we'll go right into, I believe these gentlemen are from Headwaters Rivers Forest Project. Kind of give us a little overview of what we're looking at here.
Okay, is this mic on?
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thanks for finding time on your agenda to allow us here. So my name is Matt Dahlman. I work for the Nature Conservancy. I live in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. And to my right here is Forrest Gibo. He is with the owner of the land, Aurora Sustainable Lands. Forrest is their portfolio manager, so managing the lands that they have in Wisconsin. And then Ron Grapp, who is with the Wisconsin DNR Division of Forestry with the Forest Legacy Program. So we're here to share an opportunity that is primarily lands in Sawyer County, but portions of it, 2,000 acres, lands in Price County, about 5,000 acres in Bayfield County. And it's this Headwaters area that we're trying to put a working forest easement on. So many of us are probably around long enough to remember the days of Consolidated Papers and Owens, Illinois and Packaging Corporation America. Sometime end of 90s, early 2000s, that model changed. The accountants essentially said you have an underproducing asset, to sell them off. And what happened is that companies formed called the Real Estate Investment Trust. So Plum Creek came in, bought lands, and their model was manage timber and then sell the lands for highest and best use, recreational or real estate development. That model kind of played out. And then now the new owners of lands coming in are called timber investment management organizations. And that's what essentially Aurora is. Some of those companies are now looking to the feds and the state and to private money to see if they can make sure that the lands that we thought back before 2000 in the real estate investment trust movement were always going to be open to the public. These companies are now coming in saying we should probably think about ways to make that happen. So Aurora has approached the Nature Conservancy and the state and the feds essentially to see if we can place a working forest conservation easement on these lands that would then allow these properties to be accessible and for timber and for recreation for future generations. So that's what we're here to share is again, we have about 2,019 acres in the northwest part of this county. And what we're here is to introduce the project, get your thoughts and feedback. And then our hope is that this committee can support it and then recommend it to the full board. And then at some point, we would be back to the full board and ask for board approval or a resolution on it. And Ron will talk a little bit about what's needed. So that's why we're here. And with that, I think what I'll do is I'll pass it over to Ron Gropp to talk about what an easement is, because it's a little different than what probably people think. Easements, it's not just about a road access in and out. So with that, I'll pass it over to Ron, unless there's any questions for me. Okay, Ron?
Thank you, Matt. You guys hear me okay? All right. Well, good morning. As Matt mentioned, my name is Ron Gropp. I am with Wisconsin DNR Division of Forestry, and I manage what's called our Forest Legacy Program. And before I talk a little bit about conservation easements, I just want to say one of the other reasons we're here is on behalf of department leadership, they want to see more proactive engagement with local units of government on these sorts of projects. And so that's another reason why we're here, is to really just, like Matt said, introduce this project, build a coalition of support around it. Because when we look at private industrial lands in Wisconsin, and I think we all recognize in the heyday that was represented somewhere along the order of about 1.5 million acres in the state of Wisconsin historically. When we look at the trend recently in the state, what we see is a decline, a huge decline. What once was about 1.5 million is now about 650,000 acres. And so little by little, these large private industrial lands continue to get chipped away at, and they become smaller and smaller. Well, we think these lands are incredibly important to maintaining the timber products industry in the state of Wisconsin. When you think about the raw materials that supply our wood using industries in Wisconsin, the majority of that raw material comes from private lands. Doesn't come from the federal government or the state government. It comes from private land. And so protecting these remaining large tracts of industrial forest in Wisconsin is extremely important to continue that working forest landscape concept. And so when we think about a conservation easement, really what it is nothing more than a land use restriction that the landowner places on their property. They have a certain bundle of rights, just like, I don't know, any landowners in the audience here? Okay. So as a landowner, you know that you have certain rights on how you can manage your property, build on it, develop it. You can also protect it. And one of those tools that we use to protect lands is a conservation easement. Completely the landowner decision to make in terms of how they value their property, how they vision that property moving into the future through this protection mechanism. And so when you think about it from that standpoint, again, it goes towards protecting these really important environmentally sensitive industrial tracts that we continue to see in Wisconsin. So from that standpoint, landowner has certain rights. They want to sell those rights. We in DNR are a buyer of those rights. And so it's a very voluntary, willing seller, willing buyer basis, right? So no one's forcing anyone to do this. And those rights have value, right? If a landowner wants to place a land use restriction on their property and basically give up or sell their development rights, those development rights have value. And so that's what we look at in terms of what it's worth, right? So there's a financial or monetary benefit to putting an easement on a piece of property. And we go through a process to evaluate and put a value on those rights. This is not a fee title acquisition. The state is not in the land buying business. But with an easement, what we get are public benefits on private lands. Okay, it continues to remain in private ownership. It continues to stay on the tax rolls, and the public continues to enjoy the many benefits and values that come with that property being in its current state. Now, every easement is a little bit different, but we can, through negotiation with the landowner, we can, think about things like opening up designated roads for motorized access, things in those regards. And so that's really real quick and dirty in terms of, how an easement works, how the state kind of comes in and provides the financial mechanism, if you will, for a landowner to move forward with that particular, applying that particular tool on their property. So just kind of take a pause right there real quick and see if there's any questions that I can gladly answer.
How does this program relate to like managed forest crop?
Yeah, great question. MFL and conservation easements are two very different things. So managed forest law is a what you would call a tax deferral program, right? So landowners enter their property into that program in exchange for a reduced tax burden on their property, with the expectation that they're going to continue to sustainably manage and cut timber. A conservation easement a little bit different in that it's the overall protection mechanism that protects the property from being subdivided and sold into smaller and smaller parcels, right? There's very little to no tax implications with a conservation easement on the property. With MFL, the landowner can decide to withdraw from the program at any time and put that property on the market and parcel it off for highest and best use. With a conservation easement, they are in perpetuity. And so if and when the landowner decides to sell that property, the easement stays in place, and that next landowner understands that if they're buying that property, it comes with this land use restriction on it. They still have to manage accordingly, according to sustainable forest management practices, a forest management plan that is approved by the DNR. Even if they withdraw from MFL, that conservation easement stays in place and continues to protect that property. So they're very different.
Well, and I've seen this name. Go, you have a question, Brian? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but go ahead. You
No,
finish.
no. Ask one.
Okay, so what are you looking for from the county? Just us to say we're okay with it?
Well, again, so we've got about, I think, a 2,000 acre parcel in Price County. And again, just from my department leadership's perspective, they want us to really, they want us to be proactive with engaging local units of government. And so this project touches Price County in the town of Flambeau. Yes. Town of Flambeau. And so because the county is a local unit of government, we're just being very proactive and being transparent and open about what this landowner wants to do. At the end of the day, we are going to be pursuing federal funding to purchase this easement. That federal funding requires a match if we're successful in getting it. It requires a 25% match, and we would likely use Knowles Nelson stewardship funding to match that federal money. And because of that, this is where, because we're using, Knowles Nelson stew money is essentially taxpayer money. So my department has basically said, Ron, we want you to go out and be more proactive with engaging local units of government. If we're going to be using state taxpayer money, we want to make sure that, everything's up above board, and local units have an opportunity to weigh in. At the end of the day, what we'd really like is your support in the form of a resolution that allows us to move forward with that and to utilize those funds. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for.
But irregardless, it can still go through even if the county does not approve it, the board?
Well, it could go, we wouldn't be able to necessarily use the state money to match
Okay.
the federal grant. We'd have to find another way around.
And that Knowles grant, has that been approved or are we still in process there?
Well, so we have one more year remaining on the current authorization. So that expires at, I think, the end of FY 26, June 30th of next year. Between now and then, we hope the program is reauthorized,
Okay,
but we don't know.
So just as an example then, Fund 5 Lake Nuco LLC. They own more property than just this in Price County. Because we have a chunk south of our ranch down and right on the Taylor County line that was, I see, changed names. And it had just been logged off. Joe, you know where I'm talking about, behind the south of the ranch. Yeah, well, it didn't go through the county. Yeah, it wasn't a county sale, but anyway, that was a big chunk and that's not in here. I see.
Right.
So they're not entering all their lands. So when we're talking about a monetary value that this company will get, what are we talking about? They just purchased all this land from, I don't remember who owned it.
The Forest Land Group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were out of Georgia or someplace like that, I believe. So they paid significant amounts of money for it, or is it just a company changing names?
No, it's a separate company.
It's a separate company. So then we in turn will pay them for buying it.
Well,
Kinda, almost. No.
well, so yeah, so there is a financial benefit here in terms of the landowner essentially selling their development rights, right? But it's not fair market value, so it's going to be less than that, what they would normally get if they just put it out on the market. And I'm not sure what land is going for around here. What is it, 2,000 an acre, maybe?
2,000 roughly.
Roughly. When we buy an easement, it's typically significantly less than that. Now, I can't say definitively what that number would be because we'd have to go through an appraisal process to identify what that is. But we wouldn't be paying full market value for those rights.
so how does it affect the county tax roll then? Is the value of the land less than fair market value then? Is it adjusted so we get,
So
it's
we collect
worth
tax
less.
dollars off of it. Versus MFL, we get little to nothing.
Right.
And as you know, if you look at the demographics of Price County, we get this huge block of US Forest Service.
Right.
And we have a fair amount of county land
Yeah.
and there's some state land and, we could certainly wouldn't mind having some more land on the private block
Yep.
that's paying taxes.
Yep. You bet. So that's one of the big benefits of a conservation easement is it stays in private ownership, stays on the tax rolls.
stays on the tax roll, but does the tax that they pay the county get reduced because of this?
Not because of the easement. The easement really doesn't
Doesn't
have,
affect the,
I think, nope, it has a net, actually, it has a net positive impact on taxes, if you can believe that. But no, basically, it will not change how that land is taxed.
so I guess that would be one of my concerns and probably most of my constituents is,
Yep.
are we gonna, is the private citizen going to pay more because this big company is doing this? And it doesn't sound like they are.
So we want to buy the right to not let them. Now you want to buy the right to not let them parcelize their land and manage it
The landowner wants to
with
sell,
taxpayer money.
the landowner wants to sell their right to develop their land, and we want to buy that right. Because again, we feel protecting these remaining large industrial tracts in Wisconsin is so hugely important to our timber products industry. It's huge. Again, the majority of raw materials comes from private lands. And once they're gone,
I'm just processing it all. Sorry.
yep, you bet. And once they're gone, it's really hard to kind of put them back together again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so here we have an opportunity where this landowner has come forward with a 26,000 acre package between 3 counties and says, hey, we want to protect this land because we value not only sustainable management on these lands, but, the value and benefit that it brings to our industry and to the public at large for the benefits that it provides.
Have you presented to any of these other counties? And if so, what has their reaction been? Or is it
We
too early to
have.
tell?
Yep, we have. We presented to Bayfield County, I believe in late June, early July. They were very supportive. We've met with Sawyer County, I think, on 2 occasions. We're still talking with Sawyer County. They still have some questions. But I think a lot of the issues kind of focus around roads, right? What roads, if any, can be open to the public for public use, ATV trails and things in those areas. So we're having that conversation with them.
And
So-
that'll all be laid out in the easement once it's negotiated.
That's correct.
So, and I'm not familiar with this chunk up north up here. I mean, the southern stuff, yeah, I would. So today there are a lot of these are chunks I would assume are in open managed forest crop. And so we get little tax dollars. They're usually gated. Sometimes they'll open the gates and at hunting season and let people go drive in there, but there's a respect and a abuse thing there.
Yep.
So that would be a concern. I'm just trying to think of what is Joe Public going to ask me when they see this on our agenda? What are we as the county giving up? And I don't see that we're giving anything up other than, all right, that's money coming out of Nelson grant money. And we've had that argument here with different things before that if it's not spent here, it's spent somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't personally don't see anything opposing to this. We do need to protect some of our undeveloped lands, we'll say, and keep them so that there is some public land, so to speak. This really isn't making it public land. It's just saying you can't develop it. It's similar to when we signed up all our Price County land into carbon credit stuff, then we can't develop it. We got to keep it in forest. So it's similar type of program.
Very, very similar. That's exactly right. I think one of the big benefits here when we talk about a large project like this, invariably, and again, if we're going to be using state taxpayer money, right? So, on behalf of the public, the Natural Resources Board has to approve this. And one of the questions they ultimately ask me is, well, what kind of access do we have? And right now it's open to the public right now, just because it's an MFL, but that access is mostly, if not all, foot traffic, right? So when we think about a bigger project like this, 20,000+ acres, now we start talking about motorized access. How can the public get into the property and use the interior portions of that property, right? So that's one of the benefits that we ultimately look for when we make an investment in a large project like this is the landowner willing to open up roads that historically were open, now closed. Well, let's open them back up again, right? So that people can enjoy that property. And, it's not to say that we're going to open every road on the property, but we would look at strategic roads that we would designate to be open for motorized access. And the landowner, again, would be responsible for maintaining those roads. That's not a burden on the state or the county or the local units of government. We would make it a requirement of the easement that the landowner establish their own road maintenance endowment fund so that they have a pool of money to routinely maintain those roads. Because we understand, those roads, as many of you know, roads are a huge infrastructure investment from the landowner. And when, the public uses those roads, they cause damage. And so we just want to make sure that that landowner has the financial wherewithal to provide that routine road maintenance from damage that the public causes. So we'd make that a requirement of the easement. And in exchange, we'd open up some additional roads for motorized access, along with all of the other traditional nature-based outdoor activities like hunting, fishing, hiking, things like that.
Is there something on your website or somewhere where like a quick reference guide as to what the DNR is looking for to approve this? For our So we can see from our point of view what you're looking at?
In terms of like a model conservation easement.
Yeah, I mean, like what you just referred to here as far as certain roads being open, certain types of access to the public. I mean, you're telling us this and is it written down anywhere like a quick reference guide? I don't want to look at read a whole book, but.
Yeah. If you go on our DNR webpage and just search Forest Legacy Program, that'll get you right to the Forest Legacy page. Then you can kind of read about, what legacy is all about. And I think we have some links to some of the other projects. Certainly our Forest Legacy areas are our priority areas that we have in the state where we really focus energy in terms of where we want to make investments. Yeah.
Good.
Ron, I got a question. Under this program, when you talk about motorized access, what exactly kind of motorized access are you talking about? Vehicles, UTVs, electric bikes, what? Snowmobiles?
Great question. Great question. When we talk about motorized access on designated roads, we're talking about pickup trucks, licensed highway vehicles. In some cases, depending on where the landowner is, we may look at identifying certain trails for ATV, UTV, and snowmobile trails. I'm not sure on this particular parcel, but I know on the parcel located in Sawyer County, there is a major snowmobile trail that runs right through that property. That segment of trail will continue to be open and maintained accordingly. And so through the easement, we sort of memorialize the protection of that trail on the property. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be open. But that's something that we negotiate with the landowner. Some landowners, as a private landowner, you may like ATVs on your property or you might not. But that's typically something we negotiate with the landowner. Yep.
Well, I personally don't see a big problem with this at all. I can tell you that of my constituents, there's probably 50% that say, we want people to only walk in these pieces of land. We don't want ATVs and e-bikes and people snorting around all over, make them walk a mile and a half back in the woods. So that's 50-50, from that standpoint. These lands are there now and they can do that. They can walk in them, so if it gives a little bit of access to some more people, I don't see that as a bad thing. We're protecting it from being subdivided or bought by some guy from Illinois and, he comes up and closes the whole kit and caboodle off. So, yeah, I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but, the committee can think what they'd like.
That's just one aspect of it, though. I think we're looking at protecting the forest more than anything, in my opinion.
Exactly. Protecting it from development. Like I say, Ted Turner coming in, buying it and saying it's no longer open to the public. And, although he does the same thing, he kind of doesn't develop his land. But anyway, just an example.
Yep.
Could you explain a little bit differences in large MFL landowners and small, just as far as requirements to cut, how that's managed, that kind of thing, just so everybody knows what's going to happen there too. Like if Jeff has 40 that he enters in, the state sends him a letter, hey, you have to cut this. How does it work with large landowners? How do they manage it versus small? Are they required to follow that cutting plan? How that's managed too, just so.
Sure. So my disclaimer is that I am not the MFL expert. I know enough. So take that for what it's worth. Large account MFL status essentially means I think it's 1,000 acres or more that we consider large account landowners, and so they enroll their property as a large account. They manage according to what's called a management commitment. Okay. That management commitment has to be reviewed and approved by the DNR chief state forester. But basically the management commitment is just that. It's their commitment to manage sustainably using sound forestry principles. And what they identify in that management commitment are the silvicultural systems that are going to be applied with the various cover types that they have on the property. What we don't do with the large account landowners is identify mandatory practices, meaning we don't notify them on an annual basis if they have a mandatory practice that's coming due, like we do with a small account landowner. As a large account landowner, they're required to have a staff forester on staff that manages and comes up with their management protocols, their schema for entries and things in those regards. The check and balance is we still go out and field verify what they're doing, but we don't send them that annual mandatory practice letter because we understand that, you know, they have professional staff on board that oversees how they're doing that work. As opposed to a 40-acre landowner who maybe does a timber sale like once every, I don't know, maybe once in their lifetime, perhaps, maybe twice, depending on, you know, where that stand is in its development stage. We treat those landowners a little bit differently than we do the large accounts. Is that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was clear for everybody how that kind of works. The difference, most people know small landowners how that works, but large, if it's requirements to cut or not kind of deal.
Yep. There's still an expectation that they're cutting, but what we don't do is we don't regulate how much they cut. That's not a function or role of the DNR.
We got, you know, representative of the company. Want to for us a second, or any questions for the owner of the company?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. Forrest Jabot. I live in Tomahawk too. I've been in the timber industry working in northern Wisconsin for 20 years. So I spent my entire career here. So I know Price County well. Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions. I can give you guys a little background first about our company, who we are, and how we're different maybe than a lot of the other larger timber corporations that may have owned land in the state of Wisconsin in this region over the past 15 or 20 years. Things have changed pretty dramatically, right? Matt had mentioned, you know, how some of that history of those REITs, you know, that the Plum Creeks and others that have come through and purchased lands after more of those properties were vertically integrated in larger paper companies. After that, these timber investment corporations came along. In a lot of cases, those companies are not the landowners. Like Northwoods ATP, that's an LLC developed in Delaware for a company that is, you know, serves pension funds and overseas and as well as in the U.S.
Really has nothing to do with the timber industry. It's an investment.
Well, it does have to do with the timber industry. It's a timber investment. So, and they cut timber like any other company did. So Hancock and others, and they have a lot of funds, and so any one of those managers that group these up, they're serving all tens of thousands of stakeholders and individual funds and fund managers. Aurora is different. I work for a group like you, a small board of 6 people. I work directly for the investment. So we are not truly a TIMO in the respect that others are. So there's a lot more control and less oversight and less bureaucracy to deal with. So when I make a decision of what I want to do, I can get that decision or authorized to make a significant decision across the landscape in matters of days. I don't have to go through boards and boards and boards and a bunch of people above me for days and days. So we are pretty unique in the landscape of what's happened here. We are more like a private forest landowner in that regard. And yeah, we are making a choice to decide to do conservation easement in the state of Wisconsin. There's a lot of reasons why. We've got stewardship and conservation goals and objectives. But it also is, you know, something that we understand is we own 1.7 million acres across the eastern U.S. We're one of the largest hardwood asset owners in the U.S. We're one of the larger owners in the Lake States, and it's very easy to sell land here and parcelize land. That's just a fact. Across the eastern U.S., this is where you don't have to do a lot of work here. You don't have to spend a lot of money in brokerage. You just put stuff on the market and it flies off the shelf. There's a lot of interest in small parcels in this state and in this particular area. So we talk about valuation. This isn't the smartest thing to do from purely making money is going into a conservation easement. We certainly could do a lot of other things. We've been cutting timber since we've taken ownership. It'll probably at a higher rate than what's happened over the past 15 or 20 years with previous landowners. So talk about harvesting. We are doing that. We've done recent harvesting in neighboring Sawyer County. I think on our land base there, that it was the historic Plum Creek ownership in this region. We've probably cut more timber in the past year or two than what's happened in the past 10. So there's, and that's cyclic, of course, what happens where and what stands get cut is, it's looking at all the different factors and evaluating the markets of the current situation and looking at individual stands. So, we don't have a plan that we can share with everyone to say exactly what's going to happen in Price County, but we are evaluating harvests
So
daily basis.
when you refer to plan, you mean as far as harvesting or as far as what you plan?
I mean harvesting, like a schedule of harvesting.
What
But we
about
do
the easement? Can you share with us your vision for what you want to see in the easement or what we can expect? Or is that something you got to keep?
Well,
close
we
to the
don't have
vest
all the
until you negotiate.
Yeah, well, we don't have all the details, but it will be very similar to other recent conservation easements penned in the state of Wisconsin. We understand that opening trails and having new roadways and access is pretty important to most stakeholders. So we definitely are willing to work there. We talked about other vehicles and, trails specific to, snowmobile trails or ATV trails. I mean, that's all on the table. We're definitely willing to evaluate that. But specifically, I think, the current standards with regards to, the basic expectations of the stewardship program is what we are
Do you
going to
have
work
any other
through.
easements in place that we could look at?
Yeah, we do. We have 2 other easements nearby in Sawyer County that we currently own. We didn't pen them, but those are easements that we can easily share. Yep.
Could I get your guys your business cards? So if I have questions or the
Yeah.
committee, we
Yeah.
can get back in touch with you.
Yeah. Any questions? Any other questions?
No, I think this is something that we need to think about and discuss at the next meeting more, hopefully the other 2 committee members get to and whatnot. And ultimately it's I struggle with allowing the DNR to take stuff over, and I know people are going to struggle with the fact of them spending state, tax money, to purchase an conservation easement. I think that's going to be the biggest holdup is that people are not going to understand or want to spend money on resources to purchase a land easement. And that's going to be the hard sell, for our constituents, honestly, in the area.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Michelle, did you have anything? You're awful quiet online.
That's a first.
No, I don't. I know I'm
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions for these gentlemen,
Just one question for timeline wise. There sounds like there's potential need for like a supporting resolution or a letter of support for the Knowles Nelson. Is there a requested timeline yet? Because I'm the county administrator. So our schedule is pretty tight here this fall, and then we don't meet again until February. So we have another forestry meeting. I think it's November 4th.
Yep.
We have a November 11th or 12th board meeting, and then the board does not meet until February.
Mhm.
So if that's something to be aware of, depending on actually what the request will be.
I think that's reasonable. And one of the reasons I say that is because right now we've submitted an application for the federal money, and just know that when we submit an application for federal forest legacy money, we're competing with 50 other states and territories. And projects are ranked by a national ranking panel. That ranking panel meets in November, I think mid-November. Now it's sort of in limbo right now because of the federal government shutdown. We're not quite sure how, how it's going to affect that. My thinking is the longer the shutdown goes, it's going to delay things. And ultimately, we won't know if this project receives funding until that panel meets and ranks the projects, right? So we just won't know. So right now, we're just sort of in a holding pattern anyway to see if the project is even funded. And if it's not, well, then I think we've got to go back to the drawing board and figure out with the landowner, what they want to do from that standpoint. But right now, we're sort of in a holding pattern to see if the project even gets funded. And if it does, then I think we're in a better position to move forward with supporting resolutions from local units of government.
And then just to clarify, it's a resolution of support, we don't get the Knowles Nelson funding or do any fiscal.
No, this is no financial.
Yep.
This is just a support.
It's a support
resolution.
Just
thing.
clearing it up so everybody hears it, because
Yep,
that'll be a confusing point, I think,
correct.
just like Jordan kind of outlined.
Well, and I don't think it's not to mean that we don't support it, because I think everyone does. No, there's no more land being created. We all know that what's here is here.
Yeah.
I have 80 acres of my own, and it's like, I think once or twice a week I get a text message from some Yahoo trying to buy my land, and I respond to the same person every time, or every same one every time. Yep, $500,000, you can buy it, And they're like, well, that's a lot of money. Huh? Yeah. You know what? That's because it's my land. I have 80,000 or 80 acres, and I worked hard to buy it. I'm young, and I've got kids that we start to hunt, and I don't want to sell it, but if I'm going to sell it, I'm going to make a pile of money on it, and that's what it is. And that's so trying to keep it, being conservative and stuff. And so I think that's the biggest thing. So hopefully you don't think that we don't support it, Forrest. It's just that there's questions that need to be answered. And, and if you guys could get us the info to look at the other conservation easements that are in place to, kind of look them over a little bit. That would be nice to know.
I think that would be a very, very helpful tool for us to go back to the board and say, here's the same company, here's another one of their conservation easements.
Yeah,
This is what it's going to look like. This is how it'll change things. And
have you developed trails? Have you added trails? That's the big thing right now. Joe's getting done with the project out by our county campground park, adding an expansion on, and they added a mile or so, a little over a mile of trails just around the new campground. And it's amazing. That's what recreation's a big thing, and people are starting to get back to that now, I think, and I have an 8-year-old and 11-year-old and that are in sports and this and that. And it's like, it's really nice to just go take a break every now and then. So that's what a lot of people need to do. So,
okay. If it's okay, can I steal one more minute?
absolutely.
Great.
At least got 30 left.
I just want to address, I think, a point that you made earlier about, DNR, kind of taking over things. And I just want to be really clear, this would not be a fee title acquisition where DNR owns it. That's not what we want to do. DNR is not in a land buying business. Per our legislative direction, they don't want us buying fee title. But I understand the confusion around that. Our role in administering this program is simply oversight to ensure that the landowner continues to maintain the terms and conditions in the easement. And that's part of what I do as a program coordinator. I meet with these landowners frequently. There's a huge investment in a relationship, and we talk about things, and I monitor these properties. And so I'm out on these properties frequently to identify issues. If there are any potential violations that need to be remedied, and things in those regards. So our role is simply oversight, nothing more, nothing less. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, people associate Knowles Nelson with the DNR just purchased this land, and that's the stigma that's out there.
Right.
They're gonna see.
Yep.
They're gonna DNR and Knowles Nelson and be like,
Yep.
what? You know, and that's
We're giving up more land.
Yep.
That's how. And there's 50% that'll say the roads are great, and 50% that'll say leave it walking only. You know, so
Yeah.
that's, as elected people, that's the questions we get
You bet.
and the pressure.
Well, I do want to thank the committee here for giving us some time to talk about this. We really appreciate that. And yeah, we'll give you our contact info before we walk out the door here. And if there's any questions after the fact, we are easily accessible.
I just make one more comment. As far as Knowles Nelson, that's taxpayer money, but that pot of money is going to be there whether we spend it here or somewhere else.
I don't disagree. Yeah,
So I just want, I mean, it's not like
we're still gonna pay for it.
exactly, but if we don't pay for it here, that money's going to go somewhere else. It's already going to be there, especially if it gets reinstated or
Authorized.
Continued, I guess is the right word.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks,
Thank you very
guys.
much.
You have my email, but.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
Jeff, before you move on, we did have a couple callers come in. Do you want to check if Mr. Hastings has joined?
Jason, are you out there? Can you write your phone number down? Jason? Okay, no, I don't believe he's there. Right. I'm just getting some contact info for those online. There, yeah, I could talk or sing, so yeah. Thank you very much. Yep. All right. Next, outdoor recreation grant, Big Falls project. Joel?
Okay, this one was one we applied for a couple of years ago, maybe two. For the grant was due, the grant manager said, hey, resubmit that one, we might have money. So I did resubmit. We did get funded. This is a TAN grant. It's up to $85,000, and that's match. So it's 50-50 match on these grants. So that's county funds, and force labor equipment also can be leveraged against that. I kind of laid out what the project is. It's replacing those pit toilets we talked about. They're in the one we kind of it was collapsing last spring, so we did kind of brace it up, and it's standing and usable at this point. That one, and then one of those other ones is one of those block buildings that we replaced at the other ones that are not the best. So that's the main cost of the whole project is going to be the bathrooms. The other parts of the project are basically you need to score points. So you score points by doing some other things. Some of it's a little bit of walking trail stuff as far as surfacing that, and then some the cost of getting regular electric from Price Electric and running that over a mile is pretty cost prohibitive. So the thought was doing a little bit of solar stuff, just as far as a couple poles and some security lighting, basically just a night light
Right by the
out there.
bathrooms there.
Yeah, by the bathrooms, not pay station, whatever, and then we would do a set of lights with a battery system in the pavilion there as well. So that would be the cost on that would be a lot less than the biggest expense, like I said, are those vault toilets are, that's the big expense coming in. So, and I kind of put what the expected cost is.
So the grant is 50% match, so it's 110,000 total. So we would be roughly 55,000 county and 55,000
Right.
from the grant. Okay.
Yeah, and that wouldn't be
Sure. And then-
100% cash because Joe's time, Joe's
We
equipment.
do in kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ours would be in kind labor and
Sure.
equipment.
Some of it, but you can't do anything about, the vault toilet type stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
You're straight up buying that,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
there's some of that but
Sure.
that's where that walking trail stuff and whatever that's where be our time equipment, whatever.
Sure.
And I kind of figured that would be in that, probably 10 to 15,000 by the time you
Yep.
fence your equipment on it. So
Yeah. Well, if it's anything like what you guys did out at Solberg so far, it'll be amazing down there too.
So
And
this,
it's an area we're very peaceful and this will help too.
so what would need to be done is we need to come up with the funding for the 50-50 match.
Yep.
So a motion would be in order to have executive review it. Carrie and I have talked with Joe. We've talked amongst ourselves. The recommendation would most likely be the capital improvement funds. We have very few projects right now, and that's we have some funds available there. So it would that's distributed by executive. So
I'll make a motion for executive to search for some funds for the Big Falls toilet project.
I'll second.
Oh, there's Michelle's alive.
I
Johnny on
told you
the-
I was earlier.
Johnny on the spot.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just. have a
I
question.
don't think we need to add an amount. I mean, we've got 85,000 available in the grant, so let's, right? I think,
executive, we'll work with Joe on
close to
getting
that.
the numbers.
Yeah.
Brian, what'd you have?
I'm curious, how much usage does this park get? And what happens if the executive committee doesn't forward it to full board? If nothing is done?
park will still be there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. The park does see quite a bit of use.
Does
It's probably, if you go on Taylor County's tourism department, that's one of the parks that they put on there.
which is mind blowing, actually. I've seen
yeah,
it one
actually,
time.
two, yeah.
We have a whole
But-
bunch of use this last week, I think on Wednesday. Some guy slipped and fell down into the rocks, so the ambulance and fire department, everything was out there. So having some security lighting out there and whatnot is not a horrible thing. Not that we're gonna like the whole park,
No.
but up by the bathrooms and all that.
Sure.
Actually, I think there's probably weddings and family reunions down there quite often throughout the course of the summer, for use for that. And people like to go remotely camp down there, without power.
I've never been there, so to be honest,
Oh,
I'm
shit.
just talking from
Yeah. No, yeah.
constituents' point of view.
It's actually a lot of people fish it too.
Right.
It's
Mhm.
probably one of the nicer spots we have.
Yeah.
I
I'll
mean,
have to take a ride down there.
it is worth it. I mean, it
It-
is that
yeah.
that part of things. It is one of the
Well, and especially if we do that with something with the shooting range and whatnot, that's just down the road. What is that?
Mile.
Mile and a half away, I mean, so that's right close there and stuff. So
I mean, the existing shooting range or the
No,
one
the
that
one,
they're talking about by,
the lower Steve Creek.
that
That
lower
one,
Steve
yeah.
Creek one, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I
mean,
was thinking.
that's just down the road from there. So I mean, I actually think it gets more use than we really truly. I mean, you realize it more than we do, But yeah, I think it gets quite a bit of traffic.
Michelle?
Yepers, it's a highly used place.
Okay.
eventually we do have to the one pit toilet for sure we have to replace at some point. I mean, that's in
Dire
tough,
need.
tough condition as far as we kind of braced it up enough to use it for a year or two, but one of those things we'll have to replace it either way.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll forward it on to the executive. The
That would be
funding
the November meeting, just for anybody who cares.
couldn't be the one coming up Thursday.
It's within 48 hours.
Oh,
Too close.
24, I thought we had.
Is this an emergency?
No.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know, bathroom usage is sometimes an emergency.
Okay, moving on. Sustainable Forestry Grant Application Blueberry Block Award.
This doesn't really need any, we already put a resolution forward for this one and just a acknowledgement we got the grant.
Right.
We'll be bidding out the hauling and loading for this one.
Where's this one at?
The east
Blueberry
of Musser,
Road.
east of Musser.
Off
Oh,
H.
out off of H to the, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I say that it sounded familiar, but I was drawing a blank at it. This is the one you worked with Dale a little bit on, or Dale? I thought Dale had something.
No, this is just, the nice thing about these sustainable forestry grants, when you get them, they're 100%. There's no match required. So
And this was 40,000, Joe?
47.
47.4. That's quite a bit of graveling.
Yeah.
Will
Good.
definitely help.
All right, so that's just FYI. Solberg Lake Campground expansion update.
What? This isn't 2 million?
Just update on where we're at money wise on this. Kind of tried to lay out most of what how money has been spent. Some of the projected costs on the right side of stuff that's still kind of up in the air a little bit, but we got for the big parts left, we're still finishing off that pump house building. So that's still work to go. As far as a lot of signage and needs to be placed. We got some yard work still to finish off. Play equipment's supposed to come in at some point, maybe this month, to get installed. We did bid out and award swings. Ended up the only person that bid on it was the same company that got the other stuff. So we'll put a swing set in next to that. So
There'll be a swing set like what we did, the one that got replaced out by the beach, similar to that, and then a play area as well,
Right.
similar to that.
yeah, the play equipment, when you pick that stuff out, you're looking at.
Oh, it's tough. I
picture.
know. Yeah, we did that with Line down
It,
here.
it will not be as big as across the road
Sure.
kind of deal,
Sure.
but it'll be something for kids to play on.
Sure.
So, we did, the fence was installed the other day, around both that jumping pillow and, we'll put the pickleball court up. So,
Sure. Well, I know that it's been a lot of work, and I've talked to a bunch of people that it truly turned out way nicer than people had imagined.
Yep,
They
that's
thought,
exactly what I've heard.
they
It's just
thought that
very
it
impressive.
was just going to be a vast open area with just nothingness, and you guys did really a stellar job on it. It truly is amazing
thanks.
From driving by and looking at an area to now seeing it developed into that. Kudos to you guys and your team and everybody that put the work in for it, and to have the foresight to be able to see it and come through with it. So
Yep.
it'll take time to get it recouped, but it'll definitely be. I've talked to a handful of people, like I said, that are excited to camp there and whatnot, and can't believe that got put in there in that area.
One thing you guys might want to discuss, or something I will be talking to Joe and Carrie about, is, okay, now we're ending this project. We're getting close to the end. We have the new system in to register for camping. Do we want to set aside from like this, either the project money or some of the maintenance money, a one-time, let's put some money towards advertising and letting people know, like, hey, we have this whole new area, whether we work with the chamber who does some stuff, whether we do some of our own, whether we make sure, whatever it might be, but it may be a time to kind of strike while the iron's hot, to take some of this.
I do agree. I think some
Then-
sort of advertisement. It would be huge to, I don't even know where you blow it up, you know, some camping websites and stuff. I mean, there's some groups on
Well,
Facebook and
I think we
and,
need to just hold the reins a little bit until we're done with the project and see what we have left over. And then there may be, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
I think it would be. And I think working with the chamber, you know, we can certainly enhance how we promote.
I
when
would
is the new
recommend
new
working with the
tourism
chamber,
book?
just because we help fund the chamber and we got rid of our tourist departments. That's the idea of giving money to the chamber. So I think it's a good idea eventually, once things are once the dust settled. But
When does the tourism book go out?
They're finalizing it.
Are they?
now.
Oh, they are already. Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure. I just
It's not done yet.
sure.
But I think our final draft and we did.
We talked about putting a special ad
Yeah.
with the new park stuff in there. What's his name? Not Jason.
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Jonathan and I had a quick discussion, so I'll follow up with him on that.
He
Okay, we
Yeah.
talked.
he did, and we did get him information. He's gonna put, we're gonna have an ad in there for the expansion. Yeah.
Under the camping area, that's what we talked about with Jonathan, is under the camping, where it lists all the camping, is just actually a visual ad that shows something, whether it's part of the new
And
park
we
or
could
just the logging
potentially,
on or-
when you're talking about this money, I mean, we could potentially take out a full page ad in that book that, hey, we've expanded this particular campground and
some of it, and I don't know how all the advertising works, but you know, most people too, it's, you know, you go on your Google machine and you type in camping in northern,
Yeah.
you know, getting yourself up on that list higher, and you know, talking to somebody that actually has a good idea about advertising would probably be worth doing, just so that, okay, this is how we do this, how we move our website up, so that when somebody searches, hey, oh, here's Sulberg, you know, that would probably be worth the conversation.
And the chamber is working with a guy out of, well, he lives in Park Falls, but Platypus is his company, and they are doing a marketing strategy for us. So
Sure.
Just something to be aware of.
yep.
But Patty, if you haven't been out there for a ride, I'm sure you have. You guys usually take little strolls around. Yeah. But that's, yeah,
Saturday.
sure. It like I
So
said,
I
it
was
just,
on the page.
kudos. You guys did a heck of a job, Joe.
Yep.
I drove past the cones.
I did too multiple times.
Well,
Of course,
let's
summer.
move on to our next agenda item so that Patty can vote before she leaves. And that's camping rates and Wi-Fi.
Okay, so we just went over this, but this is something where I met with the guys from Norvato for Wi-Fi. And then also we got into talking with the lady at the about long-term rates and how that is going to be accomplished. So the one thing she suggested was maybe doing where we allow for those long-term rates, 1 month to 4 month, open that up first so that it allows for people to jump in. Because otherwise, if I take 1 day in June, that takes that site out of a 4 month type of deal. So January 1st comes along, I go, boom, I want site, whatever it is, 66. And now if somebody else comes along and they would have stayed for 4 months, well, now they can't, you know. So that, yeah, so she was saying maybe you allow for a month or two of, here's your open for 1 month and 4 month. After that, you get to March 1st or whatever, and it opens up for the
That was the
single
idea.
day.
That was the idea from the new camp lady.
Yeah, from
Okay.
that reservation system. So that was one suggestion she had. The thought we had was, do we do that with all 40, or do we, you know, get input that way? How we want to proceed with that.
So let's just hypothetically say, Joe, that I went in there and I booked slot 13. And I said I want it for the whole month, 4 months. I want June, July, August, September. And I cancel in right after 4th of July weekend.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to bill
You,
that?
you would
person?
still pay that. You would still have to pay that because your
The full
reservations
4
already
months, we
as your
charge
reservation
them?
started. That's my that we allow you to cancel up until so long before, but if your reservation has already started, that to me, that you would have to pay that in full.
And I think that's a rule that we're gonna need to make sure we have
Yeah.
clarified in there.
Well, in the current cancellation policy is what we stay with, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
like
know.
I said, if you start your reservation from May 15th and go to September 15th and you decide in July, I'm done for the year,
We ding
you
their
are,
credit card and take our payment.
yes,
You already
right?
paid.
You paid, all right.
I mean, technically speaking. Yeah, I truly think it's tough to go this way, but I think we need to charge more than 30 a day out there for the full water,
I was
sewer,
gonna make that
electric.
comment too. I think the
I-
rates in general.
I
are too
actually
cheap.
talked
So
to,
one, as we go through this, the one thing first, I guess if we do this Big Falls thing, even if we don't, we should go to $20 because a $20 bill versus a 10 and a 5.
is it, Big Falls?
15 bucks a night.
Yeah,
We should
that-
go to 20
sure.
on that is
Okay.
my thought right away. Was just it's not gonna matter to people whether it's 15 or 20 for the most part. They're gonna complain either way.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's easier to grab a $20 bill to throw in the thing than not.
Sure.
That and it does help a little bit cover costs. on
Yeah.
it. So that was a thought at Big Falls as far as that goes.
My
Now,
other comment is, we got to get into this yet, I think, but why do we got to spend so much a month on Wi-Fi? Don't you go camping to get away from technology?
You'd be
yes
amazed.
and yes and no, right? I mean, so that's where those long-term type sites that becomes a draw a little bit too. You know, I mean, there's days where it's raining out. Your kids are gonna watch
It's
a
Bridgeport
movie in the inside, right? I mean, people say that, but then they sit at the fire and they're on their phone anyways. So there is that. The other thing that we are gonna get Wi-Fi out there for the caretaker one way or the other, because that's just a safety situation where
It is amazing
the
how you
last
have
couple of years
like
you have-
zero service there, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
we do
So,
have to pay for that one way.
And I guess that the big thing for the Wi-Fi is if you want to go out there and camp and stay in a tent or lay on a sleeping bag on the ground, you can do that too. But for those who would like to have Wi-Fi, it's very nice for them to have it. If Jordan's out there
Oh,
with his
I don't
kids
disagree.
and it's pouring rain, hey, sit in the cabin and watch Netflix.
Hey, we
You're
were
like
I
a
don't
little
disagree,
camper.
but if we're going to pay that much per month just to
That's-
have that service available, we should raise our rates.
We should raise our rates to accommodate it. I don't disagree.
In the rates I have on the
Bottom.
here on my homemade sheet here, that's, if you're talking a little over 1,000 a month for Wi-Fi, probably is the what you're gonna be looking at. So,
Extra that we'd be collecting.
right.
Yeah.
And
So
even
more than
even
cover.
with meeting, I don't know, we jump all over, but with the Wi-Fi stuff, when I met with him, just like in my little write up here, you put a bunch of tin cans in front of each other. Here's your Wi-Fi receptor. My camper's here. Jordan's here. Jordan's not getting Wi-Fi, because my camper's in the way. So you do need those repeaters all
Sure.
over the place. It was a part of it, and height. Ground, unless we would really have to do some clearing of trees and understory to actually get Wi-Fi to people. Down by that first bathroom when you come in, that's where it would have to go, is in those, because that's where we have the building where the power is. You could run one over to where it sites 1 through 12, but you'd have to cut yourself a lane, and then you got to cut out to every campsite to be able to see.
Yeah,
So
and I don't
there's
think you
there's
want to
certain
do that. Yeah.
there's certain points where it's like, well, do we just
No,
put-
I'm not disputing or criticizing
I'm just
what you
saying
got
what we
here. I
have.
mean, I understand why it is the way it is.
But to say, also to advertise and say we have Wi-Fi, but we'd have to make sure that it's, hey, these sites probably don't have Wi-Fi, to your site. Where the expansion area, that's where it'd be a lot easier because it's open already.
clear.
We can put those repeaters in. We could say, hey, these spots have Wi-Fi. It's all included, blah, blah, blah. We can put it down by the point and do a couple there, but that's more.
Most private
Realistic.
campgrounds have it. They usually charge 2 to 3 times a day more for the same services.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is the rate should be higher.
You added him as ex officio.
That's fine. It has to go to the full board anyway, so
Fees, I don't know.
fees probably wouldn't know, but
So-
adding this Wi-Fi
Oh,
probably.
to add a project.
Yeah, well, they could be incorporated into this project, right?
And the initial cost of installing, and I don't have the final on that, that part isn't, the equipment itself, you're talking $2,500 or
Right.
whatever. It's not, that's not really cost prohibitive. It's more the per month end of things. We have to be able to cover that with the rates that we get from people that are camping. 'Cause otherwise, we'll have to cut back on.
And so my thought is the people that are really gonna utilize that Wi-Fi is gonna be those 4 and 1 month people. Because they're gonna have their Netflix account, they're gonna have all that stuff, so when they're sitting in their campers out there, they're gonna be watching it, so the 4 month, I see we dropped it to $25 a day and.
I'm not a camp.
No, our current rates are at the top. It's $30 a day for the 0 to 30. 1 month is $25 a day. 4 months is $22.54 a day. That's what we currently set our rates at.
So down below is what
we are only doing the 1
proposing.
month, 4 month on the new expansion end of things, for rates.
And I think I think across the road it should be 40, 35, 30.
I'm not a camper, but how many people, like if they do the 4 month, 1 month, how many are getting like products like Starlink? Just they bring it with them now because it is affordable. That's why I'm not a camper, so I don't know what the usage is, but I would assume if I have a large rig,
We only
and
camped
I'm here for 4 months.
4 different weekends this summer. Once a week at City Beach, 2 different 4-day outings or whatever at Solberg, and once in the UP. And I have never seen Starlink at Solberg riding around. I don't know why. I'm amazed at that. But City Beach, every time that I've camped there, there's always at least one person with Starlink there. And in the UP this year, there was a family that had it. But mind you, they had 5 kids. They had a 65-inch screen TV outside. The lady did a full-fledged cardio workout every day with some lady on TV yelling at her, and the kids sat at the campfire 25 feet away and watched a movie on this TV every night. So like, it was crazy, So like I said, I don't see it very often, but I mean, I know people would definitely people would utilize it or use it if it was at Solberg because the service is very poor there, But I talked to a handful of people and they're like, you're only going to charge like $30 a day out there. And they were just blown away by that to have water, sewer, and electric and stuff. And now you add Wi-Fi too to that. I think that easily could go to $40 a day out there.
I don't disagree, especially on the new stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I looked at not that long ago going up to Minocqua again to whatever that Indian Shores or whatever. And it was like $75 a day.
Well,
And
and
it was
that's
like,
the
oh my
big thing. I
gosh,
mean,
like,
we keep
I know they
talking
do have
about
more
wanting
amenities,
to
but-
capture these people.
Yeah.
Well, if they look at us at $40 or they go to Tomahawk or Hayward for 70 to 100,
Yeah.
well, 40 doesn't look so bad.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Rick?
Comment or some question. So I live up there too, out that area. Has the county or anybody put any pressure on Verizon to boost that tower here?
Yeah, so that is one of the locations that a tower is supposedly going up through the Bug Tussle project. So again, are we getting ahead between Starlink and future a better cell phone coverage? I don't know. I'm not a camper, so I don't know if good cell phone coverage gets you enough to watch that video when you need to watch it, or is it I pay an extra $5 to use the internet? I don't know what the difference, but yeah, so there should be in the next
5 years.
I was gonna say 3 years, but I'll be concerned. Yeah, there should be in the near future, whatever you want to count that as, additional cell phone towers with closer coverage, which should be better there. Does that change the decision? That's up to you guys.
So I think we need Wi-Fi out there, and I don't disagree that I think we should make sure that we're charging accordingly so that it covers it.
Regardless how the Wi-Fi project goes forward, I still think you should go to 40, 35, and 30. Add another $5 to your new rates.
And that would make up a majority of it, correct?
Yeah, I did some kind of math to figure out what it was now. As far as number of nights we would need.
Yeah. Well, and I think, to me, if we're gonna do this, the Wi-Fi thing, I think the areas to focus on are the new expansion and then just up by the point. Don't worry about in between for now. You know, that can be added on later, correct?
Mm-hmm. They can add,
I mean,
they can add
you know,
repeaters later.
if we get this stark influx of people saying, God, I gotta have Wi-Fi out here, I'm only gonna camp out there because I got Wi-Fi, or camp up here.
My
'cause of
question
Wi-Fi.
would be, the equipment, the initial investment one time for equipment isn't that large.
Yeah.
So we'd have to ask Novato, how much would the monthly rate go down by not
Doing these other areas.
focusing on
So
all the
just
areas?
Just the, this is kind of laid out in the paperwork on the next one as far as the monthly cost. And the monthly cost just for the central unit is $110 a month. So if you go that extra building, you know, you're sitting at what, $1,400, you know, just that extra,
Sure.
you know.
So you're saying it'd be
a year.
110 for the building out by the road and 110 for the building up by the caretaker,
Right.
and then
Just
110 a
that,
month.
But then
And-
each repeater you have, then there's it's $25 per repeater per
sure.
month. You know, so
So I think, like I said, I think we do this. We focus on. I have this. It says floor plan on it here, or even here. This one that's circled. Like to me, I would say do the one or two up here and out here, but skip this middle stretch. You know, that's.
But isn't that where the caretaker is, and that's where the showers and everything?
No, the caretaker's out here on the point.
Oh, all the way on the point.
Yeah. Yep. Down where there's the two together and then the one separate.
So I'm thinking where you pay your registration and there should be access right there, right?
that's where you'd have to do then a third.
That's what the
at
third
that
one
point.
would be. And
Oh.
I mean, if we save that, I mean, you're saving, you know, and there's units right there, you're saving a bunch of money, you know? But even as is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you got 250 for the repeaters and
Basically, the area
220.
you're talking is going to be 13,000 a year in cost.
Yeah.
Is what
For the whole area.
for
on this
the
floor
doing
plan.
the new area, and then up by the caretaker, that's going to be 13,000.
Have you talked to them about being able to do dormant during winter so you're not paying?
I didn't.
That might be an option too, to
Yeah.
maybe it's only 7,000 or 8,000 then, because you can say, I want to shut it off November through
Yeah.
April.
Is that
I don't believe they have a vacation rate, but potentially with our, you know, with the park being closed from October to April,
Yeah.
potentially they would, that would,
I think
Something to
I would hope-
add-
you would hope they would work with us.
something to ask of reduced rate or if you shut it off and turn it back on come spring, you know, we would save some. I don't know, do we need,
Oh, I just had somebody say that the city works with them and Elk Lake Park is dormant in the winter for
Okay.
Wi-Fi, so they must have
all
a
right, so they,
way to
Sure.
work on that.
Okay.
good.
So I guess could we look at doing that then, Joe? Sites, you know, the main sites of Wi-Fi up by the caretaker in that little area, because that would ping over to like where people are at the beach all the time too. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, in the playground area there, and then the new expansion. I guess to me, do we need to have as many repeaters across the road, or could we start with a few less and then add more?
I think you
we're-
just do
we're-
it right away. so
I
they're
think
all
do it right
covered.
away,
I
cause
don't- yeah.
otherwise there's gonna be more installation charges.
Sure.
and
Okay.
fees
And that's
yeah.
I didn't know.
I
you know.
think just do it. If we can reduce the rate and have 6 months where we're not paying that,
Yeah.
we just cut that 13,000 in half.
Yeah.
So I think we do it with the plan they have.
Sure.
And
Does that stuff need to be kept heated? You know, Jeff? I mean, is that,
no,
Like-
it's all outdoor stuff.
you know, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I wasn't sure, you know, because I mean, there's no heat in,
And I see in their
Those
quote, they
bathrooms.
had
The one.
UPS power supplies there, so.
Yeah.
So I guess the one thing I would need from the committee would be just the camping rates end of things. I guess that solidified if we're moving that up or not.
I think the rate for across the road needs to be different than in the park. I'll make a motion that the rate across the road goes to $40 for a single day. I guess work it out, whatever it is for.
You must not stay across the road.
I would pay the extra. I would pay.
He's gonna.
No,
You
no.
watch and
Honest
see.
to God, I would.
Yep.
Because of the beautiful blacktop paths around there for kids to ride bikes on, and the walking paths around the outside that they put in. Like I said, it is truly amazing. I can visualize and see things, and I could see it happening, but I didn't think it would turn out that nice. It really, I mean, like I said, the guys really did a heck of a job and put in. Joe and I talked about this not that long ago. Fred said to him one day, "We got to go back out there again." As kind of a joke, like they've been there all summer, and that's been a lot of work for them. So it really truly
Want to
is
continue
amazing.
with your motion? So
Yeah,
Patty
sorry.
needs to go
I think I
first.
got sidetracked. Yeah. Anyway, I make a motion to go to $40 a day. And the new area across the road, what site 61 through 100, and then 35 a day for a month, and then 30 a day for breaking into a 4-month block.
I'll second.
Patty seconds. Any other discussion about it? Michelle?
No, you guys hit it all on the head already. I don't, see, didn't have to be there.
All right.
And then with that motion, changing Big Falls to $20 a day, just to make it easier, like Joe said.
All right.
Are you okay with adding that?
Aye.
Okay with
Yes.
adding that in there? Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Joel's got some direction.
Do you need me to vote on the vouchers?
Yeah, we can do the vouchers quick. Everybody has seen
Making a
them.
motion, Patty?
I'll make a motion to approve vouchers as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I think I heard a whisper of an aye from Michelle. They're approved. All right. Thank you, Patty.
I think she signed them.
Lower Steve Creek Flood Shooting Range.
I don't have anything on that.
Nothing,
unless-
nothing new on it?
No.
Yeah. I didn't know if you've gotten correspondence from Steve or not, but. All right, we'll keep moving. Department update and financial report.
So department updates, not a ton from last time. Mainly been working on the park out there. We'll be shutting off water October 13th. So next Monday is when we'll turn the shower buildings down. Timber sale wise, been steady but slow all summer long. That 2 to 4 sales active kind of all summer long, which is good, getting stuff moved along. So, and then
Did you have a number for stumpage? No.
I think the last I saw were a little over $1 million. That's in the county, after paying the towns. So, we still got about a little over 200,000 yet to make. So, and we got 2 sales opening up this last week, or one tomorrow, I think. And then one just opened up. So that's a good thing. So we'll keep on plugging away with it. So, we should get pretty close on that. Park wise, I think Carrie sent out the park report and we're pretty close on that. Pretty good weekends here. With these warm weather in September or October, it really helps for park income that way. I think we had 30 some out at Solberg this last weekend. So.
Wow. Good.
Joe, do you see any change in stumpage with the new announcement of Hayward's jet fuel thing?
So the same person that was gonna do the one in Park Falls is doing this one. The Park Falls one is not currently running, so till it's going, we'll see what happens. I think they're waiting on a little bit of
And there's competition for that.
Public
That's
funding
not
too.
approved yet. I mean, Michigan and Minnesota both have applications in for that same factory / production.
If it
facility.
happens, it'd be great.
Yes.
Another outlet. I don't think stumpage would all of a sudden jump, but it's another outlet to move wood along, and we greatly need it. So hopefully it does go through.
I know when the pellet mill went in Ladysmith, they didn't want to pay for their wood. So, I mean, from hearing what I hear from the loggers, number one, it's who's involved. And number two, that sometimes that stuff is not beneficial at all because they don't want to pay nothing for the wood. But we'll see. It would be good. Another outlet. What else you got, Joe? Anything?
Nothing else.
Okay. How about Cranberry Creek? You were doing something down there.
So that's the lady that is doing the plans for that. She's supposed to be doing the dig. She's got to make sure the material that's in the dike itself and what we're going to use to put in there is a similar material, so it's uniform. She's supposed to have all that stuff to the DNR by the end of the year. So says she's supposed to get it done. But
And Steve Creek, we're still waiting on that.
Yep. So the plan end of things, that's working its way through the DNR, and we're slowly getting there, but it all just takes time. So that
next
Steve
year's
Creek
project.
Steve Creek is going to be a next year. It'll get bid out this winter. So
Okay.
yeah, and that did that current plan the way. A lot less, like I think there was around 2 acres worth of, in that initial plan that the DNR had put up, it was like 2 acres worth of wetland disturbance type stuff that they're gonna have to deal with. And now it's under 10,000 square feet. So that should be that's a general permit type deal. But we tried that on the ATV trail, and so we'll see how that goes. Maybe coming through somebody else, it'll be better.
Any other questions for Joel? If not, we will adjourn.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Hey, Meredith.